Welcome to the OT. I'm Elise Jesse, and the Cincinnati Bengals locker room this afternoon was very interesting, and a lot of that is thanks to Kansas City safety Justin Reid. His comments, his headline comments that went viral on Wednesday, talking about how they were going to shut down Ja'Marr Chase, shutting down everybody. He was confused on who Hayden Hurst was, even though they were drafted in the same draft class in 2018. I first spoke with Ja'Marr Chase. He spoke to the rest of the media on Wednesday, but I did not get a chance to speak with him one-on-one. So speaking with him, we talked about his coming back and how he is excited to be off of the sideline on Sunday and back playing against Kansas City. And this is what he had to say. How excited are you to play on Sunday? Because I know, no football player I've ever met has wanted to stand on the sidelines and watch their team play. They want to help their team.
Exactly.
Virtually every time you touch the ball, you score.
Exactly.
So you're a big help with this team.
It's been a sacrifice just getting myself together. Being a sacrifice just to, being able to be on the right foot while I'm injured, doing the right thing. Just doing the right preparation for myself to come back. The guys believing in me, not worried about me, making sure I get my priorities straight first. And the strength staff and Coach Zach was helping me out the most, telling me what to do and what they could help with, so everybody had a lending hand.
What really went into your rehab? Because so many people will see you on the sidelines and think you're just playing video games before.
Yeah.
They don't know exactly what goes into coming back to the field after an injury.
Yeah, so this was actually a lazy injury, so I was actually at home majority of the time. But once I got back, I was just doing pool workouts to make sure I get back in shape. Finally, getting extension in my legs, stretching more. It's really been small things. It hasn't been really big things to get me back. So I just had to let my hip rest on its own to come back.
And I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you did because everybody else saw it in the locker room, the Justin Reid comments, kind of acting like he didn't know who Hayden Hurst and Higgins were. What was your takeaway from all of that? Because that's something that's kind of rare these days.
Yeah, I didn't really have no comment about it until he made another comment and said everybody else was going to get locked down. So that's when I buzzed in to decide to say something on Twitter.
Do you think maybe he just hadn't watched enough film on the receivers in Cincinnati?
I don't think he's watching film at all. I don't think he knows his personnel on whoever he's trying to check or if he's even checking anybody. So it's just he need to go back and watch, the film, look at his personnel, look at what he wants to know. So, yeah.
Honestly, I thought it was shocking knowing that he and Hayden Hurst were drafted in the same class in 2018.
I didn't know that. I don't think Hayden knows that either, probably. So,
what is kind of the reaction? Because I've noticed that T is wearing Hayden's jersey. You guys are all just kind of joking about it and making light about it. What is it like for a team to be able? What does that say, I guess, about you guys to be able to make a joke out of it?
Yeah, we're not worried about it. We've seen better secondaries before. I'm not saying that they're horrible, but we've seen better secondaries and. It's just all about people playing us. We the attackers, and people have to come to us and play us. So they got to try to stop us at the end of the day.
Last question for you: what would it mean for you to be 8-4 and beat Kansas City on Sunday?
It's just one step closer to our accomplishments, our goals. We're trying to reach this season. So we get that done, then we're on the right foot of where we want to go for the playoffs. I don't know about you, but from that conversation, I got the vibe that Ja'Marr Chase thought that Justin Reid had not been doing what he was supposed to be doing, which is watching film and studying his opponent. It's almost like they think that Justin Reid exposed himself through that interview. Ja'Marr Chase and the whole crew extremely confident. I had another conversation one-on-one with Vonn Bell, and he was fantastic. He was actually sitting in the cold tub with Hayden Hurst when this interview broke on Wednesday. Here he is. All right, Vonn, so Kansas City coming into your house. Last year, everyone underestimated the Bengals. We all know what happened.
Yeah.
What is your feeling going into this game this year? It's obviously a different team. But what is your feeling going in right now?
Feeling's good. Everybody playing with high confidence. Keep on building momentum throughout the weeks, and just stacking wins right now. But it's a whole different feel in this locker room, and we just gotta go out there and do our part, and put the team in the best position to win.
It's crazy because I've covered this team for 9 years. Back in the day, no one gave a shit about the Cincinnati Bengals, and now suddenly everybody has an opinion, and it's just like mountains and piles of opinions from analysts and talking heads and everybody.
Right.
Do you guys hear that? Do you use that as motivation? Because typically they're talking about, the Bengals in an unfavorable way almost as if they aren't as good as Kansas City or they aren't as good as Tennessee or Tennessee has the edge. Do you guys hear that or use that at all?
No, we just block out the outside noise. If we hear it and we get a dub, now you can let them know how you feel. But we just worry about the men in this building, and we know how much work we put in, the preparation, the time, the sacrifice, and we know what the work we put in. So we just worry about the guys in this building.
What makes Patrick Mahomes just so electric and special, explosive?
Big arm. He can make every throw, and he finds his guys. When the guy that have his situations, he always go find his guys and make the right read. So that's what makes him special.
And Travis Kelce, I think he's 33 or 34.
Look like 21.
It's crazy. How is he still able to make incredible plays like he is?
Oh, man. They just letting him be him. Playing with high confidence, quarterback believe in him. If he's double covered, triple covered, he believes in his guys and go to make the play for him. So that's what makes him so dynamic, especially when he catch the ball, he always think a touchdown. And that's what makes him so dynamic for sure. But it's a huge challenge for us, and we're ready for it for sure.
And this doesn't occur very often nowadays, but Justin Reid with Kansas City made a few interesting headline comments, and I know that a few guys have commented on that. What was your reaction to seeing all of that stuff blow up yesterday?
I was confused. Because what was crazy, I was sitting next to Hayden in the hot tub cold tub, and he was talking about, I didn't know what he was talking about. And now it came up to life. I'm like, oh, that's what he was talking about. But I look confused, but we're just going to let the past do the talking on Sunday.
How did Hayden react?
Kind of upset.
Yeah.
He was kind of upset.
They were drafted in the same draft class.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think he was kind of upset, but we're going to leave it at that.
Okay, so we'll just let him use that and fuel.
Just fuel. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely got the sense that Hayden Hurst was a little bit more than upset when he was seeing those comments from Justin Reid. Truly, you do not hear of these types of interviews. You don't see these kinds of headlines of guys specifically going at each other like this, especially ahead of a game. It happens sometimes, but it's not very often that we get to see stuff like this play out. Everybody is extremely excited for Sunday, very confident, and they are saying over and over again that they are going to let the pads do the talking. They are not going to engage with whatever Kansas City is trying to bring to them. They're going to let it all play out on the field on Sunday, which makes this game even more intriguing if it already wasn't. I also got the chance to speak with Hayden Hurst himself, and before the rest of the media joined me. Here is our conversation, Hayden Hurst and me one-on-one. All right, Hayden, so first of all, Kansas City, what would that win mean to you guys, knowing that pretty much everybody underestimates this team for whatever reason every week? What would that mean?
I mean, it's just a huge game. You know, any games in December and this time of year, it's a playoff game, and we're going to come in, guns firing, and we've got a lot to prove. For whatever reason, like you said, we kind of get doubted, but I'll take this team against anybody.
I was talking with Vonn. He said he was sitting with you in the cold tub when Justin Reid's comments came out. Did those surprise you when he said that he was kind of acting like he didn't know who you were?
Yeah. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You can say whatever you really want to say about me. I really don't give a shit. I am who I am, and Sunday at 4:30 is going to be pretty fun.
Why do you not hear what you say?
Doesn't really faze me at all. Like I said, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. He feels one way, that's awesome. But I'll be ready to play on Sunday.
Was it laughable to you, knowing that you guys were drafted in the same draft class?
I understand what the point of the interview was. Again, doesn't really faze me. You can say whatever you want to say about me. I've been called way worse, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so that was a very small portion of Hayden Hurst's interview with me. The rest of the media came with us into that interview, and it ended up going over the 6-minute mark. So if you want to watch that full interview, it is right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. It's on our channel for you. You can go check it out after this show. Go ahead. He had a lot of things to say, including saying that he's the last person that anyone should be talking smack about, considering the fact that he has such a good memory. He will remember that for years to come. Another guy that I spoke to today in the locker room was offensive lineman Teddy Karras. And I have said this before, I've said it numerous times. If there was a Mr. Congeniality Award to win in NFL football, Teddy Karras would be the guy to win that. He remembers everyone's names, always got a smile, everyone loves him. And to see him walking off the field in Tennessee with some choice words for fans, that was very out of character for him. And he mentioned how he felt very vulnerable going viral on Twitter. He is not comfortable with that, it seemed. But I asked Teddy about that situation. I also asked him about what everyone has been talking about all day long, the headlines that started dominating the news cycle about this specific game yesterday when Justin Reid made those comments about shutting down Cincinnati's wide receivers. Here he is. What is trash talking like that so early? What does that do for a team like you guys? When you're already used to hearing the opinions of a lot of talking heads and putting you guys basically as underdogs.
Well, I mean, the Twitter stuff is what it is. I think that's a little skill player drama, but I'm confident in our guys. I thought it was pretty funny last night, but really, you know, what we need to focus on is performing our best. So if that's how some guys want to prepare, then so be it. But you know, there could be some backlash. I think Uno is going to have a pretty big game.
I think it's so crazy though, because now in this day and age, and with the younger players coming in and being so used to social media and how things can go viral and blow up, they usually stay away from those big headline type of interviews. Did it shock you that this type of thing blew up yesterday?
No, I don't think it shocked me. This is a huge game. I think the ticket prices are illustrating that. But, you know, this is a huge game in this conference. And for both teams, it really, you know, need a win to continue on the trajectory that we want to go. So, you know, a younger generation thing. I would never want to get in Twitter beef. I was trending on Twitter this past week. It was a little bit of a vulnerable feeling. So I don't want to try to emulate that at all, try to stay out of stuff like that. But, you know, I think that our skill position is the best unit in the league, so they're going to have to work hard out for them.
I think everybody in Cincinnati saw that video. And everybody actually really liked that video of you with the Tennessee fans. But when I was trying to explain it, I was saying it's so crazy because Teddy Karras is a guy who, if you had, you know, an award for nicest guy in the locker room, it would be Teddy, because everybody knows him, everyone loves him, you remember everybody's names. So that is very out of character. So it had to have been something crazy going on in the field.
Yeah, there were some punches thrown, and yeah, some you know, not the best. You know, not conceding during victory formation. Didn't appreciate it. Had nothing to do with the Tennessee fans. It was just fired up at the end. Saw a lot of orange jerseys in there, so got fired up again. And, you know, thank you to the Cincinnati fans for the responses. I've gotten so many nice messages.
Yeah, well, you went viral. I got locked out of Twitter this week. Have you ever been locked out of Twitter?
No. Elon's coming after you?
I don't know. I mean, I just got it back this week.
Oh, okay.
So weird. I was locked out for the longest time. But anyways, back to football. When you look at this game coming up on Sunday, how much does it mean to you guys? And do you guys use the opinions of all of the, I guess, the added opinions? Because the years before, no one cared about the Cincinnati Bengals. Now suddenly it seems like everyone cares. Everyone has an opinion. Do you guys feed off of that as communication? Do you hear it?
Personally, no. I do hear it. I do keep up with what you guys write and the general beat of the team, but it's important to ignore the noise. You know, it really doesn't have any impact on the game itself. So whatever happens in that 60 minutes is what we're judged on in our whole lives. So that's all I really maintain focus on, is how can I perform my best when it counts the most.
Last question for you. What would it mean to beat Kansas City?
It would mean being 8-4 and in a prime position to keep going where we need to go. A lot of, you know, we're in December football now. These games are of a heightened magnitude, so we need to be at our very best.
And Teddy Karras is always a good one to talk to, and another good one to talk to is former Bengals wideout Tim McGee. Y'all know I love talking to Tim McGee because he keeps it real. He tells you if something's garbage. He does not hold back. He has no filter. And that's the kind of analysis that I like to listen to. And I'm sure you guys do too. So here is my interview with Tim McGee. We talked all things Tennessee. We talked all things Kansas City and what it means for this team going forward if they are to beat Kansas City here at home at Paycor Stadium and be 8-4 in December. That's a huge deal, even for this team who has those high expectations. Here he is.
Everyone keeps saying, it's almost like people have amnesia, like they don't remember that the Cincinnati Bengals beat Kansas City last year. And they're saying that Kansas City is an extremely tough matchup for the Cincinnati Bengals, which I think the Kansas City Chiefs are a tough matchup for anybody. But when you talk about the ability for the Cincinnati Bengals to, one, go against their defense with their potent offense and they get Jamar Chase back, I would think that they should have a little bit more of an edge. What do you think?
Well, it's hard. I would never bet against Andy Reid, number one, and Patrick Mahomes. So, and they have a motivating factor in the fact that they lost 2 games to the Bengals last year. One, there was, some controversy in there and some calls, but nevertheless, the Bengals obviously went on to the Super Bowl. But I can understand. I wouldn't necessarily agree with it. I can understand why the national media and people will always pick Kansas City over the Bengals because let's just face it, until last year, nobody even knew about the Bengals or talked about the Bengals. So it's kind of a kind of baked in that when the Bengals play an upper echelon team that people are always going to write them off. So, but what they got to do is just keep winning and keep stacking up the wins. And when they look in the rearview mirror, we beat the Kansas City Chiefs 3 times. So then you're going to start hearing, it's a rival now. It's a rival.
I've been hearing that a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's just the fickle fans that pretty much that don't want to give the Bengals the respect that they deserve.
Yeah, they've been jumping into the storyline of it's mainly a rivalry between Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, 2 incredible generational quarterbacks that we should see playing each other quite often in the AFC. This also brings up an interesting point because I know a month ago, I know you saw these as well. People were saying that the Cincinnati Bengals season was over because Jamar Chase was injured and with that bad hip injury. Now that you look back, they're 3-1 without Jamar Chase. They found ways to win without their top receiver in the game. What do you think that says about this team and their ability to solve an issue like your top player not being available on Sundays?
There are some huge pluses and some minuses too. The huge plus is the fact that they wasn't playing the best teams. I mean, I'm not taking anything away that they actually won the football games. But they wasn't playing the heart of their schedule. They played a Carolina team, which, of course, they should have absolutely destroyed, which they did. They played a Pittsburgh Steelers team that just they're better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Tennessee Titans, I've always felt that they were overrated. They're good at what they do, but I felt the Bengals matchup would present a problem for Tennessee. So they took care of business, and that's why they got the 3 wins. Now they're going to have to earn the next 3 wins. So they're going to play against Kansas City. Then they're going to play they got the Browns. Mm-hmm. They don't match up well against the Browns. And guess what, people? The Browns are getting their best player back. So it's, it's if you look at the next whatever remaining games are, whatever number they are, every single game is a playoff game because they're pretty much playing against, with the exception of Cleveland, arguably they may be playing a playoff team. And it's funny because they're going to play Kansas City, they're going to play Buffalo, and they're going to play Baltimore. Well, we kind of expect those 3 teams to be in the playoff in the AFC, that is. So this is a great opportunity for the Bengals and those teams to kind of get a feel for each other. So if one team wins and whoever wins, they're not going to have that sizable advantage going into the playoffs because let's just face it, somebody's going to be facing the Chiefs, the Bills, and Baltimore. We hope it's the Bengals. And if they do, maybe they can, show in this game coming up that they can beat them.
Well, and I think it's an important note, given that, the strength of their schedule is now, right? With the Kansas City Chiefs and the Browns, and you have some formidable teams coming in. And I think it's an important thing to note that for the most part, they're healthy outside of their number one cornerback, Chidobe Awuzie, not being available. He's out for the year with a knee injury. But you have DJ Reader back. You're getting Jamar Chase back. It seems like that's a really good position to be in when you're looking at this roster, considering you're going against some really tough opponents coming up. You want to have all of your best players healthy and available.
Yeah, and when you look at the rosters of other teams, it seems like, unlike last year where the Bengals was healthy and everyone else had mass injuries, it seems like everyone's healthy. They're basically, even losing Awuzie, it does seem like the Bengals are healthy pretty much all the way around. Of course, we're anticipating Jamar Chase coming back for the Kansas City game, but Kansas City's healthy. Baltimore's healthy. The Bills are, they're banged up on the defense in the defensive secondary, but for the most part, they're healthy. So what that comes down to, Elise, is no excuses. There are no excuses. The other team will win. Whoever wins the game have earned it, because you can't say like in the past, well, if we'd have had this player and we'd have had Superman, when Spider-Man would have showed up, we would have really been good. I get so sick of hearing that.
Tim, you crack me up. Well, and no, you're right, because you can't blame it on so-and-so being out or not playing, because now if you don't win, it's execution, it's play calling, it's better players. There's a lot more that goes into the storyline if you lose.
Yeah, and look at the matchups. Let's go over the last two games. Pittsburgh and Tennessee. Where's the Bengals' weakness on defense? Secondary. Where's their opponent's weakness? Passing game. So it bode well for the Bengals to get Eli Apple, who's played a considerable amount of time, and he has the experience, but he's not their number one guy and not a top-notch cover guy in the National Football League. But you got Taylor Britt that was able to get some snaps over the last two games, get some experience, because guess what? Patrick Mahomes is coming. And you better believe they're going to go after the corners for the first time, unlike the last two teams. And, Pittsburgh and Tennessee did not have a Patrick Mahomes. Let's face that. And it's just the reality, but we don't have to jump to conclusions that the Bengals can't. But we have to look at that and go, all right, when that quarterback goes back, he can burn you on any play at any time, just like the guy on our sideline. So that's what makes the game so special. It's going to be so fun and exciting. And, of course, they'll probably score 13. End up score being 13-10, something like that.
Yeah, it probably will. But I think this is one of the most anticipated games of the weekend. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on how Cincinnati's defense will match up with a guy like Travis Kelce. I know he's 33, 34, somewhere in that range. But, I mean, he is still playing at a high elite level. Huge target for Patrick Mahomes. He's just difficult to stop for most teams.
Yeah, I watched the film of the Rams game, and they put Jalen Ramsey. The Rams put Jalen Ramsey on Travis Kelce the entire game. I don't need to tell you what happened. He ate him alive.
I saw it.
One of the top 5. So remember, that's just one weapon Patrick Mahomes has. We know he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. Right. So, but here's the thing about it. You've got to give Coach Lou the credit he deserves. He has for the most part, a no-name defense out of our metropolitan area, a no-name defense, and every single week they're stopping the most highly explosive offenses in the National Football League. They took Derrick Henry and just pushed him back behind the line of scrimmage every single play. So, and that was a design. I've said this, I was not a Coach Lou fan. I thought he was about to get fired because of the results in the first couple of years. Now, I think he's grossly underrated, grossly underappreciated, and he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And I'm shocked that when you hear of all the jobs openings, whether it's college football or professional, his name is not being mentioned. That is a travesty right there to me, an absolute travesty.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, where the first couple of years, the transition did not go well. And I think he's grown in that role as well. But I do think it's interesting that his name is not popping up with the coaching availability that is coming up. I wonder if he will become a head coach one day. I don't know. We have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, but it kind of centers around this dark cloud over the Bengals stadium, so to speak, where the players, former players, don't get the Hall of Fame credibility they deserve. The current players, Joe Burrow, he should be like literally one of the top 3 marketing players in the National Football League, and he's not.
Right.
Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Half the people don't even know who T. Higgins is, and he is just absolutely eating them up. So I don't know what it is about the Bengals that they still do not get the respect that they deserve.
Okay, that brings me to another point because I think this team feels that a little bit. I think they feed off of that a little bit because you're right. People talk a lot about Josh Allen in a way that they do not talk about Joe Burrow. They kind of hype up Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, whereas it's like, yeah, Joe Burrow is really good and he'll be in the Hall of Fame or playing in the league for a really long time. But they don't get all excited like they do when they talk about Josh Allen. And I think this team's been kind of marinating in those opinions and the takes from analysts talking about how, Josh Allen is this, and they don't even mention Joe Burrow in that same conversation, or they talk about how it's going to be tough for the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Chiefs, and they seemingly forget that the Bengals beat the Kansas City Chiefs last year, or leading up to the Tennessee game, everyone was saying there's no way they match up with Tennessee. There's no way they stop King Henry. But you forget that the Cincinnati Bengals stopped King Henry last year, and they also beat the Tennessee Titans in January. It's almost like the team is using this as motivation. It's like they're hearing these things trickle in and using that.
Yeah, and I think they really need that extra motivation because probably in the back of their mind, they don't feel that they're just as good as the Kansas City Chiefs. When you look at them, Kansas City is a dominant team. The Bengals are not a dominant team this year. The Bengals have gotten by. They've done what they had to do to get some wins. They skirted by. But when you look at Kansas City or Buffalo, you're like, man, they're what the Bengals were last year. And they are just churning yards and touchdowns, and they're running scores up, and their records reflect. And you look at Buffalo. Buffalo is pretty much giving away 2 games. But that's the hype. Hype don't win on Sunday. Hype don't win on Monday night. Players win. Coaches don't win. Players win. And if the individual players come together collectively, this team, and it starts with the defense. The defense, again, not many big names, not any big names. But they play well together. They look like they're having fun. They're flying around the football. And I think that's what they have done. They have cut the head off of offense's favorite weapons, whether it's the pass or the run. So we're going to see, because this week, I think Coach Lou got his work cut out for him because, like, okay, you can cover up some deficiencies a little bit, but now your 2 quarterbacks are going to be exposed. And I hope it doesn't, but I would agree with the national media. Like, it has the potential to be a total shootout because Kansas City defense, they're garbage. I mean,
they're not very good.
They're garbage. So it may be a high scoring game, and it may come down to the last possession, either Mahomes or Joe Burrow. And hopefully they won't call some stupid penalty because as a fan, the way the last game ended, I thought was just absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, I fully agree. And before we get too deep into talking about Kansas City, I do want to talk about Tennessee and what happened. I'm going to play you a clip. Have you had the chance to meet Teddy Karras yet?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, so for those of you, Tim, also who have not met him, I would describe him as almost like a big teddy bear. He's always available for the media. He's kind. He remembers everybody's names. His teammates love him. Always got a smile on his face. Like, he's just one of those jovial types of people that you see in the locker room that you're just like, he brings a smile to people's faces all the time. But after the Tennessee game, our good friend Mark Slaughter got this wonderful video of him walking off the field, and this was like night and day from the normal Teddy Karras that we see in the locker room. And for anybody watching, if you have kids in the room, you might want to take them out because there's a few cuss words. But here's the clip, Tim. So I don't know if you could completely hear him.
I heard him. I think his hormones were really going after it because he kept saying the same thing over. I don't think he really liked the Tennessee fans, based on what I heard.
No, well, the Tennessee fans, from everything that I've gathered, I had a phone conversation with Mark and was just asking him, like what led to that kind of reaction coming off the field, and Mark basically told me that the Tennessee fans were yelling at Joe Burrow, hoping that he would get hurt and tear up his other knee. And I guess on one of the last plays when they were kneeling to end the game, Teddy Karras got hit in the head by, I believe, 98. So I think a lot of that played into it. So he was pretty peeved. But I mean, that video, Tim, has gone viral, and everyone is talking about that video and that reaction from Teddy Karras. What is your reaction to that video?
Well, first of all, he the way you described it, he was obviously out of character, but I think that's a good thing because he was so pumped up. And I do remember when they were doing the kneel down play, the Tennessee Titans defensive line fired off, which was totally uncalled
ridiculous.
For. And I'm pretty sure that that pretty much woke the elephant in the room, and he basically got fired up from there. But I see everything right with it because put it this way: if the Titans had won the game and he was walking out, they would have been saying the same words to him. So that's just the world we live in, and that's a huge part of football. And close your ears if you're sensitive, because it happens like literally every single play. And you notice football, unlike basketball and baseball, they don't have many players mic'd up, and there's a reason for that.
Right.
It will sound like this: beep, 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 like a truck backing up. It's like, wait a minute, they will use a curse word as a noun, an adjective, a
yes,
verb.
yes,
yeah, and some of it there'll be a one word sentence will be a curse word. So it's not a place for the weak. It's just not.
I always find it funny when I'm in a group of people and someone cusses and then they look at me and they apologize to me, and I'm like, do you understand what I've done for a living for the last decade?
I think what's really enlightening is from a player standpoint, it's like that is what you get prior to the game. You go to play the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you walk out the tunnel. And I don't care what era, what decade, when you play, what the records are. When you come out, the fans are in there, and they're not going, "Hey, Mr. McGee, great, yeah. We love you, we love you, yay!" No, you're getting a lot of middle fingers, snowball, and the wording is very funny. You just, as a player, you look at them, and just first of all, you just ignore them because fans do the same thing to other fans. So it is what it is.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember the AFC wildcard game 2015 between Pittsburgh and the Cincinnati Bengals when, granted, Cincinnati fans, I'm not making excuses, but they did have a lot of time to marinate in some of those adult beverages. But Ben Roethlisberger was being carted off the field, and Cincinnati fans were throwing beer cans at him as he was being carted off.
Yeah, and that's
crazy.
In football, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
In football, there are no regulations. There are no, this isn't tennis where when the game is going on, you're supposed to hush. No, pretty much anything goes besides physical contact, whether that's throwing something onto the field or coming down on the field, touching someone. But as far as the words, when the crowd goes crazy and they're trying to stop or not let the offense get a play down and they're trying to have an effect, what do you think they're saying in those words? I guarantee you there will never, no one will ever take the audible and go, let's slow that down to see what they're saying.
Yes, I fully agree with you. I think, speaking of crowds, I think the crowd at Paycor Stadium is going to be insane on Sunday when the Chiefs come to town. I think it's just going to be incredibly loud. Granted, I think that Arrowhead Stadium is one of the loudest stadiums that I've ever been in my entire life. What's the loudest stadium you've ever been in?
The loudest?
Yeah.
That would be Tennessee, the University of Tennessee, because we had 107,000 people there. So obviously it was loud as all outdoors. But the key, as a former player, the key to when you're going in a hostile environment, you're going to be loud, is score first. If you score first, you truly change the mindset, because everyone is waiting and anticipating the anxiety. Everything explodes pretty much on the first possession, whether it's offense or defense. What you don't want to happen is to go 3 and out. You don't want to go 3 and out as the opposing team. But if you can get a couple first down, even if you punt, you've kind of settled the crowd down, because they're going to come on for their offense. That's when typically crowds make a lot of noise, when the offense comes on or the defense is in a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. They're trying to affect the game. But from a psychological standpoint, you can get the fans back by keeping them quiet. And once you keep them quiet, that kind of gives you, when I say advantage, because it's neutralized now. They're no longer that 12th person.
And Tim, I want to get to one more topic, because I meant to talk with you about this earlier, but we just kind of got into other things. But the story surrounding Perine and his ability to affect the game for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Joe Mixon was out against Tennessee in concussion protocol. Perine had 58 rushing yards on 17 carries, 1 touchdown. He had 4 catches for 35 yards. And I know Joe Mixon has started off a little bit slower than I think he would like and everybody else would like. But how do you see that competition playing out? Do you think that Perine deserves to be running back number 1, or is that still Joe Mixon's spot?
My answer is a no. He deserves no more time, because that's what he is. He's a backup. People must understand something. There's a disparity between Joe Mixon and Perine. Nothing against Perine, but ask the other 31 teams who they would have. And I guarantee you it'll be 31 answers will be Joe Mixon. Okay, I understand what fans see. Fans are very fickle. That's what you've witnessed. He was out. He stepped up. Perine stepped up. Great. But some backs, like receivers, they're limited on the number of plays their bodies can take. Perine is not an every down back. He doesn't have a lot of hip move. And again, I don't want to sit here and break him down in a negative sense. I'm saying he has done a wonderful job stepping in, but that's where he needs to be, stepping in. When Joe is healthy, we know there's a huge disparity in talent, skill level, experience, and you want your number 1 guy in, and that's the reason he's a number 1 guy. Perine has done a great job, and I hope he continues to do it. And I hope we see like Ezekiel Elliott in Dallas, and I can't think of the other kid name, but they have 2 backs. We have 2 backs. That bows the same argument or discussion with who's the best guy on the team, who's the best receiver, T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. Well, boo, both of them. You got 2 number 1 guys. Why are you sitting there debating on who's better in this area and this area? Oh, you got 2 number 1 guys and a number 1 quarterback and a number 1 running back. Come on. It's just like, it's great. But the reason it's great, Elise, the bar has risen. The bar is high. And I like that about the fans. I love the passion about the fans. But no, you don't take a backup because he had a good game. Okay, what if Joe Burrow goes out? Backup quarterback comes in, has a great game. Are you going to say Joe Burrow needs to be benched? Are you going to say that?
No one would ever say that. No.
It's the same thing. Trust me. It's probably, I'm probably stretching the example, but nevertheless, it's still the same example. I don't think Irwin is going to take over. He did great, by the way. Irwin, he did good.
Yeah, he did. So on the practice squad for what, 4 years, 3 or 4 years?
And based on that, Jamar Chase should stay on the bench. He shouldn't. No. If you're going to do the same thing to Joe Mixon, you got to do the same thing to Jamar Chase. Just bench him, people. Are you crazy? These are 2 of the top talented skill positions in the National Football League.
I feel like this conversation or this want to have Perine starting over Mixon really stemmed from the slower start that Mixon had. Against the Panthers, obviously he went off and had a history-making game. But before that, people were really growing impatient with Mixon's numbers. I don't know if they get pissed off because maybe they have Mixon in as their top back in their fantasy league, and maybe that's not being as productive as they want. Or I really don't understand the anger towards a player when obviously everyone knows that player is trying to get as many yards, as many touches, many touchdowns as humanly possible every Sunday.
the offensive line have gotten considerably better than the first game of the year. I think every fan would recognize that. So when the offensive line got off to a slow start and Burrow got sacked 7 times in the first game, we wasn't calling for these things because it was like, oh, they got to gel, they got to get together, get their chemistry, and for the most part, they have. It was only 2 games ago. Was it 2 games? Yeah, 3 games ago. Joe Mixon had 5 touchdowns. 5.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Now you want to replace a guy with 5 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Come on, people. It's just stupid. It's stupidity 101. It's just stupid. What Zach Taylor and them did, which I think they did a great job. They got him involved in the pass game. You remember he caught it en route, caught it, ran upfield. He scored on a pass reception. He scored on runs. And I'm saying to you, if you really want to make the opponents happy, stay with P. Ryan. I guarantee you they will prefer that. I guarantee you. But I don't want to take anything away from him because he's playing phenomenal. He's playing good football. He's very durable, reliable. He does his job. He's that guy that puts that hard hat on and just keeps his head down and grinds it out. Great. But he's a backup, y'all. He's a backup. And as soon as he goes and fumbles, they're going to get that bum out of there. Get him out of there. Put Mixon in the game. Who told him not to put Mixon in the game?
I love how you act like a fan. It's so great. Okay, so everyone has your answer, right? It would be Mixon over P. Ryan. So everyone can stop arguing in my Twitter DMs and in my mentions that having Mixon start is completely ridiculous.
Gag me.
Tim, you're the best. This is why we love you. It's like this is unfiltered Tim. One of the best things in the universe. You should be protected at all costs.
This is true. See, I don't get a chance to express myself because I have a wife and 3 daughters.
Well, listen, you can come on with me. We can chat anytime about this because it's greatness.
Anytime you want me, you know I'm available for you.
I appreciate you so much, Tim. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you.
Tim McGee was not shy. He did not hold back when I asked him about the competition potentially between Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon. He says it's Joe Mixon all day long. There's a disparity in talent. And, of course, Samaje Perine has stepped in and done a fantastic job with Joe Mixon in concussion protocol. Joe Mixon back to practice this week. Jamar Chase is expected to play on Sunday. It should be a huge, huge game in the AFC. One of the biggest games of the weekend. I will see you guys on Sunday, and I will see you next week right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk at 8 o'clock on Thursday night.